past that of a demand that is unmet, what you and I refer to as load shedding. The second part is that they've got the biggest installed coal generation capacity of any country in the world. The third is that they've got the biggest installed renewable energy capacity of any country in the world, about 688 gigawatts. Just to help you to understand that, they've got the amount of renewables they have is 12 times the size of ESCOM. The fourth part is that they are sitting on extensive amount of liquidity. We can tap into that, the financing, which is concessional cheaper than any other. And the other one is that they also have the biggest installed capacity of nuclear than any part of any other country in the world, about 31 gigawatts.
各位一定关心，特别是媒体朋友，为什么我们会选中国？选中国的企业，基于下列4点。第一点呢，中国曾经遇到过类似的供电方面的这个问题，就是供不应求。这是过去遇到这个问题，并且找到了解决这个供求关系的这个方案。第二点的话呢，就是过去中国在处理那个拉闸限电甩各个方面也做过大量的这个工作，找到过相关的解决这个方案。那么第3点的话，是中国的这个清洁能源，特别是可再生能源的目前的装机高达688吉瓦，这在6880万千瓦，这在世界上是非常领先的这么一个数据。那么同时呢，中国今天在座的企业也有是在全球核电装机是处于领先地位的这个企业，所有这些都能为我们合理的找到解决方案，提供比较的帮助。那么第4点的话呢，就是中国的这个资金的这个流动性是非常好的。那么我们觉得就中国今天在座的话，有关融资的这个单位呢，给我们提供非常好的资金这个方面的解决方案。
So how are they going to help us? So you know that we have made the point that on the generation side, we've got an issue with the underperformance of the coal fleet, but part of the problem is that the emissions levels in some of the power stations, Kriel in particular and Kendal, they are exceeding the license parameters. So China sits with technologies on how best we can resolve the emissions levels without threatening neighboring communities and still ramp up the performance of the installed units.
那么具体的如何能帮助我们解决南非电力方面的问题呢？首先是发电侧，比方说南非呢，我们有很多的这个煤电，那么中国的这些企业呢，他们在减排、提高煤电厂的发电效率方面有着非常宝贵的经验，那么他们可以帮助我们既减低这个排放，同时也提高煤电厂的发电的这个效率，以便呢为我们在电力供电方面呢提供更大的这个帮助，同时呢也不影响我们老百姓的日常的这个生活，就是指那个影响环境啊。
Then we are searching for new generation capacity, which is really solar PV and wind power. Wind energy, I did say to you that they are sitting on 688 gigawatts of renewables. So they are going to share with us how to bring those on stream. In particular, the extension of your transmission and the strengthening of your transmission and the modernization of the transmission.
此外的话呢，中国的企业他们在可再生能源、新能源方面呢，有着非常好的这个经验积累。比方说，在太阳能、在风电方面，我刚开始说了，中国目前的可再生能源的装机是688吉瓦，这个是非常可观的一个数据。那么，此外呢，他们在电力配送方面，就是在电网建设呀，在这个模块化呀等等这些方面，都能够为我们提供大量的支持。
So I made the point that for us to expand the transmission, we must install about 14,000 kilometers of new lines in the next 10 years. Just to put it into context, in the past 10 years, we only did 4,400 kilometers. So we must grow that 3.5 times. So you need both the technical know-how, but most importantly, you need the money to roll out this transmission line. You need money that is cheap, that is concessional, that has got a component of grant. And of course, we are open to any other player on the market, not restricted to the players here, but the Chinese entities, they know how to do it. They are sitting on a pool of liquidity, and as we have heard even yesterday, President Ramokgopa and President Xi, there's a facility that is made available to South Africa to be able to access that.
在电网配送这个电网建设方面这个我们未来几年要完成14000公里的这个电网的这个建设，这个挑战是非常大的。为什么这么说呢？因为过去10年以来，我们完成的电网的这个建设才4400公里，也就是说，我们的效率必须提高3.5倍才能够完成这个方面的这个工作。我们希望在技术获取，在这个技术获取方面呢，得到中方企业的这个支持。此外呢，刚才我也提到过，今天在座的金融单位呢，总体基金那个他们在流动性、在资金方面呢，提供有力的这个支持。昨天在习近平主席对南非进行国事访问的这个会议上呢，拉马福萨总统和习主席就谈到了，希望南非能够借助于中国在资金方面的便利，能够呢支持南非在电力方面的建设。
Our integrated resource plan, which is our overarching plan on the technologies, fuel technologies that will power our generation and meet our demand, does make room for nuclear, and we know that we've got big issues with regards to Quebec. So we'll get, in addition to the report, we get expert advice, because the technology they use in some of their power stations is an exact replica of Quebec. But the second one is also the fact that nuclear will still constitute a significant part of the energy mix going into the future. So we need an appreciation on the cutting-edge technology that exists in the world, and the Chinese have done that better than any other person, any other country rather in the world.
我们南非正在制定我们称之为综合资源计划，也就是能源发展规划的这么一个新的规划。在这个规划中呢，会有核能、有核电这么一个元素。那么我们希望是目前在运的我们的布荷河核电站呢，这个问题能够得到中方相关企业的大力的支持，这是非常紧急的一件事情。那么同时呢，我们这个未来的发电计划中、规划中也有新的核电项目这个方面的考量。那么中国在核电新项目建设方面是领先于全球的，你们的技术也是最先进的。我们希望在这个方面能够呢，进一步的加大我们的合作力度。
And on the distribution side, a lot of you will know that as we stand before you here today, there are many communities that don't have electricity, not because of load shedding, but because of transformers and substations that have failed. It's about Lichtenberg is a case in point. So you need a technology that is cutting edge, latest technology to help you to alert if there's additional pressure on the substations, the transformers that is not designed for, so that before it can even explode, it can almost like cut itself from such a failure. And that's why we're looking at that technology to help us to ensure that we modernize our distribution side of energy provision in the country.
另外，在配送这个方面呢，我们也遇到了非常大的这个困难和这个挑战。在有些供电区呢，并不是说甩负荷拉闸限电造成了没有电，而是因为配送电的设施老旧，无法完成它预定的配送电的任务。我们的包括一些变电站啊，包括一些电压器啊，它们都急需更新改造，提升它们的这个性能。 为此呢，我们觉得中国在上述配送电的设施方面有着非常好的实力和经验积累。我们希望能够借助于这个方面的帮助，改进我们在配送设施方面的这个情况。这是未来我们着力探讨合作的方向之一。
Yesterday, as I conclude, we signed two agreements. The first one was with my counterpart, which was about promoting investment cooperation in green economy power. So that's a transversal agreement. But we must put that into action. And that's why we'll be working with these partners to ensure that there are real projects that gets to be implemented. And the South African economy and her people can have the benefit of new energy sources, and we are able to resolve load shedding.
昨天我跟贵国商务部签订了国政府间的这个叫做推动绿色能源合作的这个亮水备忘录呢，是政府间的这么一个共识。那么今天跟各位即将签订的这个合作备忘录呢，是与上述备忘录配套的执行层面的这么一个文件。我衷诚的希望借助今天这个文件的签订，我们能为南非后续的电力发展、解决电力问题找到合适的这个答案，特别是在寻找新能源的这个解决方案方面，我们能够共一起合力。
I have impressed upon my colleagues that we need to work with speed. Of course, they work faster than we do, and that can be attested by the fact that yesterday we signed the fact that they exchanged letters in relation to the technical equipment that will be assisting us to provide sustainable electricity to some of the major public installations like clinics, hospitals, and police stations. We are going to get 552 of those units. 450 of them are already on the way. That's how the Chinese work.
这个大家都说有人说是唱的比说的好，说的比唱的好。但是呢，我觉得中国人是他们做的比说的还要好。我再次跟大家说一下昨天呢，我们才正式签两国间的刚才说的跟商务部签的这个协议，但实际上有些我们紧急的需要的缓解我们供电侧的一些移动式的这些小柴油机这些供电设备，原来我议定是要552套，但是实际上到昨天452套已经就位了。所以这就是中国人他们做事的风范。
So when I visited China and we agreed on these units, they already started packing them. All they were waiting was for the confirmation of the signing ceremony yesterday. As we were signing, they were already on the waters coming to South Africa. So what does this mean? It means that over 500 public facilities, clinics, hospitals, police stations are now going to have access to uninterrupted alternative power supply. And thanks to the Chinese for the generous contribution.
再重复一下，就是说，两国的合作在电力方面的合作是务实的，是解决实际问题的，也就是我刚才提到过的。昨天才正式签中国签的协议，但今天500套左右的移动发电设备已经为我们的医院，为我们的警察局等与老百姓民生密不可分的这些设施相关的供电设施已经到位了，确保我们这些设施有着不间断的电力供应。
And I must emphasize that the donations is exactly that. Donations are not attached to any condition. So we're getting gasoline generators, we're getting diesel generators, we're getting power supply vehicles, we're getting off-grid PV energy storage supply systems. They range from 6 kilowatts up to 200 kilowatts. 200 kilowatts we can support a clinic and medium-sized hospitals. So this is real true relief to the South African people.
中方提供的上述的这些设施都是以捐助的、无偿捐助的这个方式提供的，这个而且是不带任何附加条件的。这些设施有移动式柴油机、移动式汽油机，还有移动式小光伏，那个低的这个容量呢有6千瓦的，高的呢有200这个千伏的千瓦的，那个200千瓦的这种比较大容量的呢，它已经足够满足我一个中等规模的医院的供电需求，可以说是解决了我们实打实的问题。
I want to say, as I conclude the contextual setting before we sign, to say thank you to our friends, brothers, sisters, and the comradely relationship that we enjoy with the People's Republic of China. I want to say thank you very much to State Grid Corporation of China. Thank you very much to China Africa Development Fund.
最后呢，我想借此机会表达一下我向中方相关单位的忠诚的这个谢意，向来自中国的兄弟姐妹同志表示衷心的这个感谢。我觉得我们双方的合作的背景是中南两国有着非常好的国家关系。我首先想向国家电网、向中非基金表达这个感谢。
And to say thank you to China Energy International Group. Thank you very much to China General Nuclear Power Corporation.
中人线、中广核表示感谢。
Thank you very much to Huawei Technologies.
华为表示感谢。
Thank you very much to TBEA.
To TBEA 特别表示感谢。
Thank you very much to Global Energy Interconnection Development and Cooperation Organization.
向全球互联网电网组织表示感谢。
We're really looking forward to a productive relationship, and I'm more than confident that the people of South Africa are going to see the benefits of this relationship when we end load shedding, and we are going to end load shedding. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
我衷诚的期待着跟各位展开富有成效的这个合作。通过我们的合作，相信一定能够有效的结束南非甩废和拉闸供电这个方面的问题。好，再次感谢大家。
What are the characteristics of a good leader? Learning from the best, hitting the ground running, leading by example, walking the talk, showing respect to your employees, showing respect to the machines, the power stations, giving respect to the communities. Another round of applause for our doctor.
刚才说了，谢谢我们部长非常热情洋溢的这个讲话。部长他是身体力行了，他是对我们的叫做以民为本尊重这个员工是从最基层来考虑问题，来找到解决问题的这个方案。
We're now going to get the responses, and I deliberately mentioned learning from the best. The responses are from the best world-class leaders of power utilities. We will start with the State Grid Corporation of China.
我们先请国家电网给他讲话，从我同行那边的学习。
尊敬的拉玛豪伯部长，尊敬的各位来宾、女士们、先生们，大家上午好。
His Excellency, Mr. Dr. Ramokgopa, and the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
很高兴与各位朋友欢聚一堂，出席今天的签约仪式。这次合作备忘录的签署，体现了部长先生解决南非电力危机的决心，也体现了部长先生的务实和高效。我仅代表中国国家电网公司，向部长先生、南非电力部门以及长期以来支持中南能源电力合作的朋友们致以最诚挚的敬意，向这次合作备忘录的签署表示热烈祝贺。
I'm so delighted to be here today for the signing ceremony. The signing of this MOC is very significant, which delivers our resolution addressing the power crisis and all efforts making it happen. On behalf of State Grids, I would like to extend my gratitude to your Minister and your colleagues for long-term support, and congratulations to a new chapter of our collaboration.
今年是中南建交25周年，也是金砖南非年。这几天，习近平主席出席金砖国家领导人员第15次会晤，并对南非进行国事访问，为中南两国深化交流合作注入了新的动力。
This year marks the 25th anniversary of our bilateral diplomatic relations and your presidency of BRICS. Chinese President Xi arrived South Africa for the 15th BRICS Summit while paying a state visit, which will definitely inject new momentum to this in-depth cooperation between the two nations.
中国国家电网公司愿与南非电力部和其他各界朋友携手努力，落实两国元首的重要共识，进一步推动两国能源电力领域的合作。
State Grid is ready to work with your side to carry out the agreements made by the state leaders and to foster energy cooperation in a larger scale.
中国国家电网公司是全球最大的公用事业企业，也是一个国际化的能源电力公司。我们在全球45个国家开展国际业务，我们运营着全球电压等级最高、规模最大、清洁能源发展最快的电网。多年来，我们没有发生大电网的停电事故。
As the largest utility and international energy company, State Grid left a footprint in the 45 countries and regions. We operate the largest power grid with highest voltage level that integrated the largest amount of renewables, and we kept the records of no major blackouts in the past 3 decades.
近年来，我们在保障电力供应、推动绿色发展、能源转型、深入实施创新驱动发展战略、持续提升电力服务质量等方面，开展了很多富有特色的工作。
Recent years, we have taken actions in ensuring reliable power supply, energy transition, innovation-driven development, and improving service quality.
中国在很多年以前已经实现了户户通电、村村通电。
And China have already realized the 100% power for all projects for several years.
下一步，国家电网公司愿积极地落实这次签订的合作备忘录，维护两国友好务实的合作大局，进一步深化与南非电力部交流合作，分享在电力保供、清洁能源发展和消纳等方面的经验。
Next, under the umbrella of this MOC, we will share our best practice in reliable power supply, clean energy integration and development, while discussing the possible collaborations in integrated energy planning, power transition, and talent training.
在综合能源规划、输电领域、人才培养等方面深入探讨合作机会，为南非解决电力危机提供动力，提供力所能及的帮助。
And in a word, and we will stand together with you in responding to the current power crisis.
这个非常感谢部长先生啊，南非电力部门给中国企业有这样一个这个施展才华的机会，相信给中国企业一个机会，中国企业一定给南非一个奇迹。
And last but not least, thank you very much, and we highly appreciate and your excellencies ministers give all the Chinese enterprises a platform. And if you give the Chinese events an opportunity, and we will definitely give you a miracle. Thank you.
最后，祝愿中南能源电力合作取得丰硕的成果，也衷心的祝愿南非能够尽快的度过电力危机。谢谢大家。
Last but not least, and the success of this signing of the money, and also wish all the best and for the South Africa, and you could quickly and take hold of the energy crisis. Thank you.
State grid would then be followed by China Africa Development Fund.
中非基金。
尊敬的拉莫豪帕部长阁下，尊敬的各位中资企业的领导，各位来宾，大家上午好。
Good morning, Your Excellency Minister Ramokgopa, esteemed Chinese partners and distinguished guests.
非常高兴能够在约堡与部长阁下再次相聚，也非常荣幸作为中国金融机构的代表，与中国发电、输配电、电力设备和电力工程领域的龙头企业一道跟南非电力部签署 MOU。本次签约是落实两国元首关于加强能源合作重要共识的务实举措，预祝合作取得圆满成功。
I'm delighted to have this opportunity to meet with Minister Ramokgopa once again in Johannesburg. And also I'm very happy to be a representative of Chinese financial institutions and alongside leading enterprises in China's power generation, transmission, distribution, and power equipment and power engineering sectors. We are proud to sign a strategic cooperation memorandum with South African Ministerial Electricity. The signing reflects practical measures taken to implement the important consensus on enhancing energy cooperation between our two countries, as outlined by our respective heads of state.
中南两国政治互信、经济互补，建交25周年以来，中南两国各领域务实合作成果丰硕。中非基金作为中国政府为促进中非经贸合作设立的专项资金，愿发挥自身优势。
The political mutual trust and economic complementarity between China and South Africa are evident. Over the past 25 years, we have established a very strong diplomatic relationships. Our practical collaboration have yielded abundant results. We have established comprehensive strategic partnerships. China Africa Development Fund is a special fund established by the Chinese government to promote economic and investment in Africa.
以本次签约为契机，同各家企业一道，积极帮助南非解决电力危机，并将继续支持与推动中国与南非之间的经贸合作，为建设更加紧密的中南命运共同体做出新的更大贡献。
We aim to use this signing as an opportunity to actively provide assistance to help South Africa to overcome challenges in the power sector, address power crisis, and continue supporting and propelling economic and trade cooperation between China and South Africa.
关于下一步的合作，在此我提出务实和创新两条建议。关于务实，南非前总统曼德拉曾说过，我们的新生活越来越依赖电力，电力是现代社会的基本需求。南非当前电力形势严重影响了经济发展和日常生活，南非政府对此高度重视。务实解决这一问题，既是电力部的重要使命，也是我们中非基金的重要工作，是我们合作的重要基础和共同目标。
Looking ahead to our future cooperation, I have two suggestions for the Honorable Minister's consideration. First is practicality. As Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, once said, our new life is increasingly dependent on electricity. Indeed, electricity is a basic need in our modern society. The current economic electricity situation is significantly impacting economic development and the lives of people. So this is a priority for the Ministry of Electricity, also is a priority for CAPAM. We aim to resolve this, help the Ministry of Electricity to resolve this power crisis as a foundation to move forward.
关于创新，如果完全依照当前招投标的制度框架体系，在工作效率上难以满足需要。
建议进一步优化、简化招投标程序，尤其是在一些应急或重大的电力项目上，在特殊情况下，可考虑指定由中国电力企业以投建营一体化等方式直接参与。针对 TBEA 政策输配电领域的投资准入，也建议能够进一步放松限制，降低门槛。
The second suggestion is about innovation. If we stick strictly to the current bidding and the tendering system framework, it might be difficult to be very efficient. So I suggest further optimizing and streamlining the bidding and tendering procedures, especially in emergency and major power projects. Consider allowing direct participation of Chinese power enterprises through integrated investment, construction, and operation model. Also, as to BEE policies and investment access in the transmission and distribution sector, relaxing restrictions can lead to strengthened cooperation.
女士们、先生们，今天签约是我们各方加强中南能源合作的重要里程碑。中非基金愿意继续发挥桥梁纽带作用，积极对接南非的项目和中国行业龙头企业，推动中南电力、绿色能源及其他领域的投资合作，服务中南两国务实合作迈上新的台阶。谢谢大家。
Ladies and gentlemen, today's signing ceremony is a milestone for our cooperation. Kaifang is willing to cooperate with various partners in power sectors and to bring more investment from China as a bridge between China and Africa and South Africa. We believe we can use this steps to move forward and to help solve the power crisis situation in South Africa. Thank you.
China-Africa Development Bank Development Fund is now followed by China Energy International Group.
下面请钟美倩博士。
Your Excellency, Minister of Electricity, Dr. Ramokgopa, esteemed guests, colleagues, good morning. My name is Xin Chen from Energy China. It is with great pleasure that we stand here today to nurture the collaborative relationships with the government of the South Africa and formalize our partnership through the signing of this joint Memorandum of Cooperation. We wish to express our deep gratitude for the trust and concrete support extended to us by the Minister of Electricity and his dedicated team. In the month of June, Minister's visit to China marked a key moment in forging a path of mutual cooperation between the South African government and the Chinese enterprises. Within the energy sector, we were deeply impressed by the minister's professionalism, his mastery of information, and meticulous attention to detail, all of which serve as valuable resources of inspiration and learning for us. It is a crucial first step. We set a goal today, but the true essence lies in charting a clear course to attain it. We eagerly anticipate the establishment of joint working groups and the formulation of the working plan. In our commitment to this partnership, we pledge to deploy our most accomplished experts to work closely with our South African colleagues. Together, we will facilitate the seamless transfer of the cutting-edge
technology and share invaluable knowledge. Drawing from China's rich experience, we aim to provide steadfast support to South Africa in the pursuit of the green and sustainable energy solutions and the realization of our shared energy security goals. Furthermore, we are dedicated to studying and aligning with a forthcoming IRP and TDP. This alignment will serve as cornerstone for expediting the development of critical power projects and enhancing our investment partnership with our local partners. In closing, we extend our heartfelt appreciation to our South African colleagues for the invaluable assistance and guidance they will offer as we embark on this transformative journey. Today, we lay the foundation for a prosperous partnership. Tomorrow, through our efforts, we anticipate realizing and mutually sharing significant benefits. Thank you.
Next is China General Nuclear Power Corporation. May I plead with the media to remain with us? We are definitely going to have a media brief and take your questions afterwards.
下面请中广核集团发言，提醒在座的媒体能够继续在这边关注我们这个签约仪式。等会儿我们一定会有一个向媒体提供答问的这么一个环节。
尊敬的拉莫豪帕部长、女士们、先生们，大家上午好。
Honorable Minister Ramokgopa, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
在中南建交25周年之际，在金砖南非年交流活动取得累累硕果之时，非常荣幸受邀参加中国企业与南非总统府电力部的联合合作备忘录的签约仪式，与各位领导、企业家朋友们齐聚一堂，共商合作，共谋发展。
At a time when we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and South Africa, and when the brief year of South Africa exchange activities have achieved fruitful results, it is a great honor to be invited to the signing ceremony of the Memorandum of Cooperation between the Chinese entities and Ministry of Electricity of the Presidency of South Africa with a view to talking about cooperation and seeking common development.
南非是非洲首个建设运营核电站的国家。自上世纪90年代起，中国广核集团大亚湾核电站就与南非库贝赫核电站建立起了姊妹电厂的关系，双方在核电运维领域互助合作，在有效地推动了两个电站长期保持安全稳定的运营业绩。
South Africa is the first country on the African continent to build and operate a commercial nuclear power plant. Since the 1990s, China General Nuclear Power Corporation's Daya Bay Nuclear Power Plant has established a twin plant relationship with South Africa's Huawei nuclear power plant. The two parties have since then collaborated with each other in the area of nuclear plant operation and maintenance, effectively promoting the long-term safe and stable operation performance of the two plants.
近年来，我集团加大了在南非风电、太阳能等新能源投资，取得了有效的成效。
In recent years, CGN has increased investment in new energy resources such as wind power and solar energy in South Africa, with initial results already accomplished.
当前，两国经济发展势头良好，能源电力需求都保持了较快的增速，统筹发展与安全 积极稳妥地推进清洁能源转型，成为两国共同的政策选择。
At present, the economic development momentum of the two countries is excellent, and the demand for electricity has maintained a rapid growth rate. Coordinating development and security and actively and steadily promoting clean energy transformation have become the common policy choices of the two countries.
在核能、新能源、氢能、储能、数字能源等领域合作潜力很大，双方企业在清洁能源技术创新、项目投资建设运营、产业链、供应链合作等方面迎来了前所未有的机遇。
There is great potential, therefore, for cooperation in respect of nuclear energy, new energy, hydrogen energy, energy conservation, digital energy, and other fields. Construction and operation, industrial chain supply chain cooperation, and other aspects have ushered in unprecedented opportunities.
在今年的6月，拉马豪帕部长亲自率团到访我集团，双方进行了充分、深入、坦诚的交流。我们对清洁能源合作再上新台阶充满了信心，愿意在南非经济重建和复苏计划以及“一带一路”倡议指引下，以此次签约为重要契机，以实现互利共赢为目标，进一步巩固深化在清洁能源领域的务实合作关系。
In June this year, the Honorable Minister Ramokgopa personally led a delegation to visit CGN, and the two sides had a full, in-depth, and candid discussion. We are fully confident that our cooperation in clean energy will reach a new level. Under the guidance of the South African Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan and the Belt and Road Initiative, we are ready to take today's signing ceremony as an important opportunity to further deepen bilateral practical cooperation in the field of clean energy with a view to achieving mutual benefits and win-win results.
我们将会同中南两国能源领域合作伙伴，加大在南的清洁能源投资力度，深化核电运维、新项目开发、技术创新等领域的交流合作，共享相关的知识和经验，切实为南非解决电力供应问题、推进清洁能源转型、支持本地化、工业化发展目标贡献力量，助力中南经贸关系行稳致远。
We will lose no time in increasing investment in clean energy in South Africa, together with partners from both China and South Africa, deepen exchanges and cooperation in nuclear power operation and maintenance, new project development, technological innovation, and other fields, share relevant knowledge and experience, and effectively devise solutions for South Africa's electricity challenges, promote clean energy transformation, support localization and industrialization development goals, and contribute to the steady and long-term development of China-South Africa economic and trade relations.
再次感谢各位领导和企业家朋友们的信任和支持，让我们守望相助，携手共进，充分发挥各方优势，推动中南能源合作取得更多务实的成果，为促进中南友好合作做出更大的贡献，为两国人民创造更多的福祉。谢谢大家。
Once again, please allow me to take this opportunity to thank all the leaders and entrepreneurs for their trust and support. Let us work closely together in a spirit of solidarity, give full play to the advantages of all parties, promote China-South African energy cooperation to achieve more practical results, and make a greater contribution to the promotion of South Africa-friendly cooperation so as to contribute more to the well-being, of the people of our respective countries. Thank you for your attention.
Next is China National Electric Engineering Company.
下面有请中国电力工程有限公司。
Your Excellency Minister, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. China National Electric Engineering Company Limited is a state-owned, large-scale professional international engineering company. Since its founding, CNC has completed more than 1,000 domestic and international engineering projects, especially in the field of electric engineering. CNC could provide one-stop engineering service in the whole value chain, including consultation, financing, engineering, procurement, construction, operation, maintenance, and rehabilitation. In recent years, the global power industry has ushered in the new era of green and sustainable development. As a state-owned enterprise in China, CNC is well aware of the social responsibility and the challenges and obligations, and is willing to work together with the ministry and the presidency for electricity and the related enterprises to implement the green development goals set by the two countries in many aspects, such as the planning and construction of a new power system and the construction of renewable new energy power station, garbage reduction, waste to energy, and green transformation of energy conservation and emission reduction of existing traditional power stations, and the expansion and upgrading of the power grid system. As BRICS countries, South Africa and China has too many similarities in both historical latitude and longitude and cultural concepts. As political parties and governments concerned about people's well-being, adequate energy supply, and green coordinated development are the common goals that the two countries strive to achieve. As President Mr. Xi Jinping emphasized during his sixth visit to the Rainbow country, China and South Africa should be fellow companies, sharing the same ideals. China and South Africa should be pacesetters for solidarity and cooperation. China and South Africa should be the inheritors of China-Africa friendship. China and South Africa should be champions of our common interest. I'm confident that the South Africa-China cooperation will be stable and far-reaching, and the South Africa and China friendship is destined to the forever. Thank you all, and we will take a quick action as Mr. instructs and request. Thank you all.
Next is Huawei Technologies.
下面请华为。
The Minister, Dr. Ramokgopa, and other distinguished guests, Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So, Huawei has long-term investment in South Africa and is willing to support South Africa in solving the power shortage challenge with the best resources. So based on our global practice and analysis, the key point of the power industry development is not only the cost of power generation, but also the overall design by government need to coordinate the formulation of policies and standards on the power generation, power grid and consumer side, and provide policy guidance. Solar power construction in South Africa has just started and has the Litcom advantage. It is recommended that the government formulate industry standards and policy plans from the beginning. Industry standards and product certification are critical. Power plants are generally planned for over 20 years, but some solar power plants have been damaged only after a few years, or even the supply do not exist. Many customers around the world, including China, have confirmed that this situation exists and ask Huawei for power plant retrofitting. Considering the demands are general and allowed, Huawei has even set up a dedicated organization to meet this requirement. Huawei has set up an innovation center in South Africa, and even last month, the President Ramokgopa to come to our campus to give us a ribbon cutting ceremony. And we would like to participate in the installer electrician training program led by the Minister of Electric Power to enable local people. And last, I would like to say thank you very much to Dr. Ramokgopa, because we are also the residents of South Africa, and we have seen how many good changes happened in the past few months. And I believe under your leadership, with all of our efforts in this country, we will overcome the shortage of the load shedding in the short future. Thank you so much.
Followed by TBEA.
下面有请特电电工。
Your Honorable Minister, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm the president from TBEA company, and our TBEA company is one of the biggest supplier of the power transmission and distribution in China. The grid co is our big client in China, and in Africa, in South Africa, what we want to do is exactly the same what we did in China. We want to supply the equipment and the solution for the power transmission and distribution in South Africa. We are here to work. We are here to help for the local partners to solve the issue we have right now. We solve the problem. It's not for a long time being. As the minister said today, it's not only a milestone, it's for a big start for our two countries to continue to cooperate in the power sectors. So I believe, led by His Excellency the Ministers, also led by the Grid Corporation of China, we can solve all the problems we have by facing right now. So thanks for listening.
Lastly, Global Energy Interconnection Development and Cooperation Organization.
下面有请全球能源互联网发展合作组织。
尊敬的部长阁下，尊敬的辛保安主席，各位领导、女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家上午好。
Your Excellency Minister, dear Chairman Xin Baoan, Excellencies, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
我受辛保安主席的委托，代表合作组织进行发言。
On behalf of Chairman Xin Baoan, I will make speech for GATCO.
在金砖国家峰会胜利召开 和中南建交25周年之际，中国国家主席习近平对南非进行了成功的国事访问，并与拉玛普萨总统达成重要共识，中南全面战略合作伙伴关系不断迈上了新台阶。中南发布联合声明第7条指出，中方将继续支持南非应对能源安全挑战，包括发电和输电基础设施等方面，积极参与南非主办的投资大会论坛等活动。
On the occasion of BRICS Summit and the 25th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and South Africa, Chinese President Xi Jinping paid a state visit and reached significant consensus with President Ramokgopa, pushing comprehensive strategic partnership to new heights. In the joint statement, Article 7 points out that China will continue to support South Africa in addressing its energy security challenges, both in respect of generation and transmission infrastructure, and to actively participate in South Africa's investment conference and other activities.
此次协议的签署是落实中南两国元首重要共识的具体行动，恰逢其时，意义重大，将有效缓解南非电力危机，有力推动南非能源清洁低碳转型，也将为全球应对气候变化做出积极贡献。
This signing marks a concrete step in implementing the consensus between the top leaders of China and South Africa. This timely and significant event will provide strong momentum for addressing South Africa's power crisis and facilitating the transition to clean and low carbon energy. Will also make a proactive effort to global climate change.
女士们、先生们、朋友们，2015年的9月26号，中国国家主席习近平在联合国发展峰会上提出构建全球能源互联网的重大倡议，为应对全球挑战、推动世界能源转型和人类可持续发展提供了中国方案。全球能源互联网发展合作组织应运而生。现在的主席是辛保安阁下，就在我们主席台就座。全球能源互联网发展合作组织以推动构建全球能源互联网，以清洁和绿色方式满足全球电力需求为使命宗旨，积极推动实现联合国倡导的2030可持续发展行动议程的目标，服务构建人类命运共同体。
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, on September 26, 2015, Chinese President Xi Jinping proposed the Global Energy Interconnection or TBEA initiative during the UN Sustainable Development Summit. It has provided a Chinese solution for addressing global challenges, promoting energy transition and sustainable development. GATCO was established. Currently, our chairman is Mr. Xin Baoan, who was also present today with us. The GATCO's mission is to promote GEI to meet global power demand with clean and green alternatives, to implement the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and to advance a community of common destiny.
8年来，全球能源互联网中国倡议得到了非洲广大国家能源电力同行的鼎力支持。全球能源互联网发展合作组织与联合国、非盟、阿盟等机构、非洲多个国家电力协会和各个电力局等持续深化规划研究、项目咨询、教育培训等多边合作，取得丰硕成果。
Over the past 8 years, the GEI initiative has received strong support from many African countries around the energy and power sectors. Together with the UN, African Union, Arab League, African countries and leading institutions, including APOA and the regional power pools, GATCO actively deepens partnerships and conduct joint planning and research, project consulting, capacity building and training.
目前呢，合作组织已有来自142个国家的3500家会员机构，其中非洲会员达到181家。此次签约的中方机构基本上都是合作组织的会员单位，也是我们的服务对象，是涵盖发电、 输配电、装备制造、信息通信、金融及施工单位等全产业的中国优秀企业。
Currently, GENCO has 1,305 members from 142 countries. Among them, 181 members are from Africa. Today's Chinese signing parties are all members of GENCO. They represent a wide spectrum of industries across the entire value chain, including power generation, transmission, distribution, equipment manufacturing, ICT, finance, and construction.
我们在新保安主席的带领下，合作组织将积极地发挥平台作用，认真落实本次合作协议的相关内容，服务会员单位积极参与南非能源电力事业的发展，把中国国家电网公司、中广核等一批优秀的企业在中国乃至在全球最先进的技术和实践介绍到南非来。
Under the leadership of our Chairman Simbawan, GENCO will actively leverage its international platform to implement this MOC and facilitate our members to engage deeply in South Africa's energy and power development. We hope to share and apply state-grade CGN and other Chinese participants' best practice and advanced technologies, inject new momentum to South Africa's sustainable development, and make this collaboration a model for China-South Africa cooperation and China-African collaboration.
刚才呢，新保安主席董事长在讲话的时候特别指出，国家电网是全球最大的公共事业电力企业，电网的发电对于推动中国的工业发展发挥了重要作用。像这样的企业应该和南非尽快加强合作，实现双赢。
Like just now in his address, our Chairman Simbawan, who is also the executive chairman of State Grid, mentioned State Grid is the largest power utility in the world and has made a great contribution to stable power supply and energy interconnection in China. A company like this deserves attention and promoting collaboration with South African side.
为南非的经济社会可持续发展注入新活力，努力让本次合作成为中南合作乃至于中非合作的典范。
We hope this signing of this collaboration and follow-up actions will make this MOC and the collaboration a model for China-South African collaboration.
女士们、先生、朋友们，让我们以本次签署协议为契机，同心协力，做好顶层设计，聚焦项目开发与实践，共同支持南非尽快解决能源电力危机，实现能源电力清洁、低碳、可靠、经济高效、可持续发展，共同助力南非建设的更加美丽繁荣，人民生活更加富裕安宁，共同构建中南中非命运共同体，贡献力量。
This MOC marks a starting point for concerted effort, focusing on top-level design and planning, project implementation. We will support South Africa in addressing its energy and power crisis, realize clean, low-carbon, safe, and reliable energy and power supply, and embrace a sustainable future. Let's work together to make South Africa a more beautiful, prosperous, and peaceful country, and contribute to a community with shared future for China and South Africa, African continent and beyond. Thank you.
我们也特别感谢这个部长阁下为这次合作协议的签署付出的努力，特别感谢中国国家电网、中广核、华为在座的各位企业为此签署合作协议的贡献。让我们共同以热烈掌声对本次合作协议的签署表示热烈的祝贺。
I want to recognize the great contribution by His Excellency Minister Ramokgopa, and also from the leading companies including State Grid Corporation of China, China African Development Fund, and the China General Nuclear Power Corporation and other participating parties. Let's give a warm round of applause for this signing ceremony.
We are now in one of the most significant parts of our program, the signing ceremony.
下面是上议程最重要的一个环节，签约。
The process that we're going to follow is that because it's a joint memorandum of cooperation, all the documents are the same. The signatories will sign and then pass the signed document towards your right, towards me, all at the same time. I'll be then assisted by my colleague to make sure that they all rotate and get all the signatures. Kamulo will assist me. Kamulo, don't sign. You're just assisting me.
请留意一下，各位领导在自己的，因为是总共是1+8，就是9份这个协议啊。各位领导在自己的签约那个地方的先签，签了之后，请往右手边顺次给传递过来。这边有位工作人员他只负责传递，他不能签字。各位领导只要在签字的地方签，小签的事情由后续工作人员来补齐。好，谢谢。
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in witnessing the signing of the joint Memorandum of Cooperation, which is starting now.
请各位女士们、先生们和我们一起来见证这个合作协议的正式签署。
Subesh is also just assisting, is not signing.
旁边那是电力部办公厅主任，这个 Subesh， 他也是只是负责传递，他也不能签字。
A big round of applause.
让我们热烈的掌声，祝贺此次签约成功。
It's a wow moment.
是 是我们欢欣喜悦的时刻。
May our dignitaries remain seated. We're going to take the media.
请各位稍事留
We
步，
may all be seated, please. Just a few minutes.
只几分钟，请各位稍微再留步几分钟。
While they are shaking hands, may I introduce to you May I introduce to you Utsakane Kambani, also known as TK. She'll then take the last part of the program. And thanks to everybody for all the respect that you've shown to me as well. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my media colleagues. As you can see that some of our esteemed dignitaries need to take leave. I'll be taking over the program from Silas Zimu. So can we just spare a few moments as we allow our esteemed signatories from the Chinese entities to take leave. I just want to say thank you very much once again to Mr. Silas Zimu, and greetings to all of you once again. As the esteemed signatories from Chinese energy entities and are taking leave, a reiterated appreciation to the members of the media who are here with us today. Indeed, as Mr. Zimu indicated earlier, you play a very central role as a conduit, a very key conduit for that matter, in keeping the public abreast with critical developments as they pertain to our energy situation in South Africa. So thank you for joining us today. I'm not going to waste more time. I will then go straight into our next session, which necessarily involves just our Minister of Electricity, Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa. He'll take all your questions, but we're not going to be very long with that session as well. So I would like to welcome all of you and greet you and reiterate our gratitude for you being here with us today. A lot of work, I must say, is being done. You are here today to witness the signing with the leading Chinese energy entities. Minister Ramokgopa is hard at work and is really ensuring that some of these signatures are not just that, but they pan out into projects that are going to secure energy security in South Africa, but also an end to load shedding ultimately. I wish to welcome all of you and also request my colleague, there's another Tsakane that we work with, who will be taking this microphone to all of those who wish to put forward their questions to Dr. Ramokgopa. I'm opening this session now to all of you, my dear media colleagues, to questions that Dr. Ramokgopa is more than welcome to take with you. We've got a number of colleagues, and I would like for all of you to introduce yourselves, your name and your media house before you put forward your question.
My name is Brian Sokutu from the Citizen newspaper. Dr. Ramokgopa, I take it that this marks the end of load shedding. Are you able to give us any timelines as to by when you're likely to see the end?
Okay, can we take 3 questions at a time? So after you, sir, we'll take 2 more questions, and then Dr. Ramokgopa will respond, and then we'll take another round. You had your hand up, ma'am.
Minister, last night the Indian Prime Minister positioned India as a major player in the renewable space. I'm just wondering from your side, you say that you're hard at work. To what extent are you engaging with the other BRICS partners in your energy fight?
Can you please introduce yourself?
Sorry, Sarah Smith, Mail and Guardian.
Thank you. We'll take your questions, sir.
Good morning, Minister. This is Promit Mukherjee from Reuters. Wanted to ask you that can you share some specifics? I mean, one of the specifics that the gentleman asked here about was about timelines. Can you also tell me that does it also include more financial support in terms of grants or concession more beyond what was announced yesterday? And in terms of further specifics, can you just tell us exactly what are the likely outcomes that we are trying to achieve in generation, transmission, distribution, renewables, as you said, nuclear, and all those things? I'll come back in the queue later. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll take 1 more question from...
Okay, it's Anastasia Mkhobu, Jacaranda FM News. I just want to add to the colleague here's question. Minister, you said the partnership is not only limited to China. Can we expect more agreement, particularly with BRICS partners? Thank you.
Okay, I think we can allow for another question in this particular round. There's a gentleman who must introduce themselves. And their media house, please.
Good morning. My name is Zulivans Mazabugwa and I come from Soweto TV. Now, my question, sir, is with these agreements, can you be certain that load shedding, as you said earlier on in the year, can you be certain that load shedding will be scrapped off by December? That is my question.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ramokgopa will respond to the first round of questions. We'll take the last round after this, because we all do understand that we are in the midst of a summit. There are other activations that are in place, so we do respect your time very much. We do appreciate you being here. We'll take the last round after Dr. Ramokgopa's responses. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the question. Maybe just to make the point, and it's essentially a reiteration of what I mentioned at the onset, is that we have engaged many countries that have got a diplomatic presence here in the country, and not just limited to the BRICS partners. So just to indicate the major Western powers, I think we have spoken to most of the ambassadors, the US ambassador, just trying to say, look, this is a crisis that is confronting us. What's the kind of assistance that we can get from those respective countries, technological assistance, capacity assistance, and in fact we have put together a body that is made up of what we call the development partners group. So really these are DFIs of those countries that are represented in the country, and we also use that platform to canvass for any kind of assistance that is required. So I think it's important I just reiterate that point to emphasize that it's not only uniquely to China, but the people who just responded with lightning speed, I mean, also surprised me. Where the Chinese, no conditions, this is what you can do, this is what you can canvass. And of course I needed to also go to China, just familiarize myself with the kind of technological solutions they want to provide to us, but also more elaborate and comprehensive pointed discussions with a number of those players. And then this is just a culmination. Like I said, I mean, some of them, as an example, TBEA already They've generated the report. They've gone to about 4 or 5 power stations, sat there and said this is what is possible. Of course, I'm still mulling over that report, and I'll take it to the next level in relation to what is the possibility of extension of life of some of these units and for how long, what are the implications on the emissions and how best do you reduce the emissions, what is the technology that exists in other parts of the world, the issues around the flue gas desulfurization unit there at Kusile. We learned that this is not a new technology. In fact, there's new generation of technologies that is deployed in other parts of the world. So the point I'm making is that we've been working with some of them, no conditions, just assisting, generating a report independent to say this is giving our experience what we think. So what we are trying to do here is to codify that relationship so that it's got more meaning. I mean, just to share with you what the objectives of the MOU are. Essentially, there are 5. Of course, there are themes around this, but first is to enhance South Africa's energy security through regulatory reforms. So that's important because they've gone through the process of dismembering, if you like, the behemoth that was an entity that was driving the energy sector in China. So the issues that we're doing now around undermining vertical integration, generation company, transmission company, distribution, they've done it at the scale, of course. They talk of proportions much greater than ours. So you learn a lot from that. So from there, it's really not a contracting issue. It's just an issue around these are our experiences, and these are the hurdle rates, and this is what we advise you not to do. Of course, you are going to domesticate, or if you like, localize that given your own conditions. Issues of infrastructure and technology development. Like I said, I think they've got the biggest transmission line capacity of any country in the world. So the transmission capacity really talks about the size of in technological terms for the telcos, the bandwidth. How many cars can be accommodated in this freeway? I think now they're sitting at over 1,200, am I right, kVA, am I right? Yes. Yes, that's where they're. To give you context, we are now only at 700 or 800. So just come to think of a freeway. We have designed a freeway that can accommodate N1, M1 to Pretoria. About its biggest width is 4 lanes. They are at about 12 lanes. So that's what it explains. And I will tell you what it takes, because it tells you the amount of traffic that it can accommodate. There is no country in the world that has done it. So you just learn from the best. China, the state grid, is the biggest utility in the whole world. So where else can you get these experiences? They've had load shedding, by the way. And they are sharing with us how they've overcome load shedding. They had issues around universal access. No one was connected to the grid. They tell us the speed with which they were able to connect. Their grid configuration is exactly like ours. So you find that the resources, which is coal, I think with them is in the south or in the north. Yes. And then the load, the consumption is in the south. So they had to roll out the extensive grid expansion. And that's why we need to learn from them on the issues of the kind of technology, so the size of the capacity of the transmission. And some of them are technological interventions when you reduce what we call the technical losses. So what it means is that as we transform these electrons, this electricity from Mpumalanga for long distances to Cape Town, you are going to lose some of those electrons along the way. And that's why you need to do distributed infrastructure. You need to construct the generation capacity closer to the source. So essentially, in traffic terms, there's a greater chance of you being in an accident driving from Pretoria to Ramokgopa because of the distance you are traveling, as opposed to just leaving your house and going to the shop. I mean, you can simply walk. That's what it means. I always try to, don't be, I say to my colleagues, you know, the engineering they can make it very complex. So just reduce it to cars so that people can understand. So that's what these chefs have done. And they are able to share with us what those experiences are. And I'm not suggesting they are the only ones. Like I said, we'll wait for other countries to come. But we are moving at the speed of the fastest. We are not going to move at the speed of the slowest. So the one that responds first and quicker and then we are familiar with what they are offering and it's credible, we are prepared to have those conversations. And then the second part is to promote sustainable energy solutions and diversify South Africa's energy mix. They have 688 gigawatts of renewables. There is no one in the world who has done it. But they are not making the noise. Very quietly. So they're the ones who will tell you, no, this is the problem you are going to confront. I mean, as I speak to you, we're talking about the size that we have. Of course, it's at various stages of the project. It's 66. These chaps have done 10 times more. We are still grappling with 66. Of course, they are a vast country, I give you that. More people, I give you that. But megawatt is megawatt. So they'll share with you, these are the risks that you need to address, and that's why it's important that you are able to have that conversation. And then the third one is to strengthen the bilateral cooperation between South Africa and the participants and to localize. So one of the conversations we're having, you know that problem in Ditsobota, for example. I think in the Gauteng area alone, there's about 110 transformers that have failed. You can go to communities in Orange Farm, in Soweto, Chiawela. I receive inundated with calls. They don't have electricity, some of them for the past 3-4 months. And when you sit with ESCOM, of course, outside the issues of the debts and people not paying, there is no sufficient industrial capacity. Let's assume the municipalities were paying ESCOM at the money, municipalities at money. The next problem the country is sitting with is there is no one who can manufacture the numbers of transformers that we want at the rate that we want. And that's why it's important, because we know what the demand is. As opposed to importing, we must localize. And they're prepared, says, no, we'll bring our money in, we'll work with the local industrialists supported by the IDC. You, on the back of the crisis, you are able to industrialize. So that's what we are doing. It's an important part. The industrialization program, I always say, don't waste a crisis. There is a good crisis, of course. This is terrible, collapsing the economy, people out of employment, but there's always opportunities in that crisis. If we're not sitting with this crisis, we would not know that we don't have capacity in regards to transformers. Silas, the size of transformers, like the 500, is that MVA? MVA. There's only one company in the country that can manufacture that, and they can only do 5 per annum. And we know that at the peak of this, we are going to need about 32, 35 per annum. And these are extremely expensive. So what is the only option you have? You are going to import into the country, and that's why you need to ensure that there's sufficient industrial capacity. On the back of this, we are able to industrialize. And then facilitate knowledge and technology transfer between the parties. So these chaps, you ask them, the China nuclear company. The first generation of nuclear power plants, they learned it from South Africa. They came to Kuwait, 2004. They just took that and then built the power station. But now they're in the third generation of nuclear because we had stalled our program. Of course, I mean, the capacity to build more was not, and the need was not there, of course, in the past. But these chaps have been rolling out. They've got 31 gigawatts of installed nuclear. They are constructing about 20 gigawatts. So once they do that, they'll have about 51 gigawatts of nuclear, which, to put it into context, the amount of nuclear generation is the same size of ESCOM. So that's where these chaps are. So they can tell you of the best technology. And in fact, some of them, it's a micro-nuclear grids. So you don't have to build a big power station like Kuwait. No, you can build smaller one packaged, and you are able to get them into the grid as soon as possible. And of course, the other one is to investments into the country. So I thought I must just explain that this is not restricted to them. It's just that they are moving fast, and we like them. In this ministry, we are moving fast. I mean, and that's why we are going to fast resolve the question of load shedding. When will load shedding end? So load shedding means that you've got electricity 24 hours of the day. When I came into the office, the president says we are short of 6,000 megawatts. From February, March, when we appointed to last week, we have added 4,000 megawatts. We are going to Tuga on Friday. We know there's a potential. I'll give you the update on Sunday. When are we going to get that one? There's 3 units that should come on stream. They'll give us 1,680 megawatts. 560 megawatts each. So times 3 is 1,680. So add it to the 4,000, you are at 5,608. We're going to fire one unit at Kusile, Unit 5, now in October, 800 megawatts. We're going to fire 3 units, the ones that failed as a result of the flue gas desulfurization units. The challenge is there. You are getting 2,400 megawatts. Kusile alone, you are getting 3,200 megawatts. So that 3,200 megawatts plus the 5,680, it gives you 8,940 or so. And when I started, you said you want 6,000, and we will give you by December close to 9,000. You have not resolved load shedding. The lights will be on 24 hours of the day. But you are going to, once the lights are on, the investor community says, oh, these fellows have resolved the problem. Those projects that they've stalled, we approve them now. Construction start. Once construction starts, there's more demand onto the grid, load shedding is going to come back. So I'm saying you are going to resolve load shedding. First, the first phase is to make sure that what we are going through is eliminated. And I'm telling you that you are going to get those megawatts. And you have not resolved it. I can stand on the top of the highest mountain and expediently proclaim that you have resolved load shedding. No, you haven't. You must build sufficient capacity to allow for the country's economy to grow at the desired rate. And the rate of growth of new generation capacity must surpass the rate of economic growth. That's the answer. And then that's why you need to accelerate new generation capacity. That's why you need this 3,000 megawatts of gas. That's why that emergency power, call it a power ship solution. Car Power Ship is a company that bring power ship solution. Power ship means it's generating capacity using gas that is on a ship with docks, and then it connects to the transmission line. That's what it is. So leave the company, I'm talking about the solution, is the quickest way of connecting. You need that to come on stream. And then my calculation is that you need upwards of 12,000 megawatts for us to say now the economy can start lifting itself out. Otherwise, you are kicking the can down the road. You are not resolving the problem. The South African economy will be constrained. I don't have a date. I have a date. I have a confidence of, I talk megawatts, I don't talk dates. And then you do your own calculation. Said when I was appointed, they say look for 6,000 megawatts. I'm saying to you now that by December we have found close to 8,000 megawatts. But I'm saying you have not resolved load shedding. I keep on repeating this, I'll repeat it, so that we mustn't fall into a sense of complacence that we are going to resolve load shedding. And Paul met on the issues of financial support, yes. So one of them is a CAT fund. So one of the issues we are working on is on a financing instrument, especially on the transmission side. We've had conversations with the JSE, is a credible aggregator objective. So we're working on what are the best solutions, of course, with national treasure. The Chinese says we also have a facility. The new development, NDP says we've got $3 billion that we can make it available to you over the next 5 years on the transmission side. And they are confident that their lending rates are favorable. You can get it from them cheaper than what you can raise on the bond market. So there's this pool of funds. So what we are trying to do, and some of the Western major banks have come to say, no, we can support transmission. But these are the issues that must be resolved. Governance issues, ownership issues, and the like. And that's why Shakira here is working, is the one who's championing the work. I did indicate in one of our briefings that we are going to give you an indication on what that financing instrument is. Of course, we still need to go to cabinet and the like. And then on the issues around the outcomes there, so we're addressing the generation side. So I did make the point, they've been helping us on how best do you reduce the emissions level, especially the sulfur dioxide there, because that flue gas desulfurization unit is very expensive. I mean, just one component is about 40 billion. So at the current rate, if you have to reduce the sulfurs, the amount of sulfur content, it means we need 40 billion times the number of power stations. Of course, Kusile already has one. 40 billion times 30 is 520 billion. I think my math is prolific, that much I know. Yes, that's the size of investment. And remember, even if you had that 520 billion rands today, you put that FGD, it doesn't give you a single additional megawatt. It doesn't. All it does is it reduces the sulfur content. Imagine me standing before you and say, I need 520 billion rands. And you ask me, so Minister, how many megawatts, additional megawatts are we going to get? 0. We are not adding, we are simply removing sulfur dioxide content. We are sitting with the technology on how you can still run a coal-fired power station and meet those emission parameters. We want to learn. Whether the claim is correct or not, our technical people will engage, and then we'll come back to the count. And then, I think I have answered all of the questions. I'm a bit long-winded because I really want to explain what is the complexity of the problem we're dealing with, and I use the metaphor of a car. I think it's important just to simplify what is confronting us. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramokgopa. Indeed, there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of collaboration. There's partnerships that are being signed into to necessarily resolve this situation that we find ourselves in as South Africa. I want to reiterate the importance of you being here, and I wish to extend another round of questions. I saw Thando Mayeko, and I want to also just say that the Minister is very open to the media because he is very determined, really, in all the work that he's been doing, to be transparent and to relay in the best way possible 11 languages, including the sign language that we have in South Africa, to all South Africans, the updating as far as the implementation of our energy action plan and how we are getting out of this load shedding situation that we find ourselves in as a country. It affects all of us. It affects the economy. It affects businesses. It affects individuals. And he's readily available to engage with you as the media, as conduits, at any time, really. So for now, I will take the last round of questions, because from here we are going to the Sandton Convention Center to engage further, on these matters. Thando Mayeko, you had your hand up.
Okay, thanks, Bakani. Good morning, Minister. Just on the financing instrument, you mentioned around how the NDB is considering a $3 billion financing for the transmission side. Would this debt be guaranteed by the state if it were to be approved? And then there was the representative from the China-Africa Development Fund. He spoke of innovation, and particularly in the loosening of requirements in the tendering system for the deals signed today. And he said conversation in bilateral talks between yourself and the entities, and if so, what was the outcome? Is the government considering relaxing these tender requirements for the Chinese companies? Yes.
Thank you, Thando. Do we have more questions? Can we take new hands? There's a gentleman. Can you introduce yourself and your media house, please?
I'm Tepo Moai from SABC. On the units that were donated by the Chinese, you said about over 500. Do we know what's more or less the value of those units that have been donated? Thanks.
Thank you. We'll take another hand. There's a lady on the far left.
Thank you, Minister. My name is Nani Mugati from IOL. Just in addition to the question that was asked by my colleague, with those donations, do you know when the deal was brokered? And you mentioned that they're on their way, 450 of them. When are they scheduled to arrive? And basically, as he mentioned, what is the cost implication around it? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noni. This being our last round, are there any more questions?
Yeah. Mr. Minister, Promit again from Reuters. When you spoke about localization, I mean, were you also referring to, or can we interpret that the Chinese companies will be coming and setting up not only transformer capacities but also solar panel capacities perhaps, or wind equipment manufacturing capacities? That is one. And going back to the specifics again, what is the amount of funding that we are going to get from China under these kind of agreements that you've signed? And how much of that will be concessional funding and how much of them will be grants? Thanks.
Are there any more questions, colleagues?
On the issues around DE, yes, they raised these questions. Our view that DE is a major transformation agenda area, and there is no reason why we should dilute it. We think we can do both, so we will further listen to what it's not only them, others, the kind of issues they are raising. We think we'll find each other, but I think we will not relent on the issues of transformation and industrialization. We think that on the back of this wave and also the crisis, we can be able to accelerate the realization of these strategic transformational issues. And then on the issues of the equipment, so there is no cost, it's a donation. It amounts to about 167 million rands. The 440 units are also in transit. I really don't have the dates when they are going to arrive. Of course, if I get that, I'll let you know when we do the weekly briefing on Sunday. And yes, yeah, I think those are the issues. So the point I'm making is that the issues around concessional, what is run, is part of that broader conversation. If you go to the NDP, there's a particular mix of what they are offering. The CAT fund, there's a particular mix of what they are offering. The IPG, there's a particular mix of what they are offering. We are looking for an optimal mix, and optimal in this instance is the one that best protects the interests of the sovereign, helps us in the quickest possible way to resolve the energy crisis, and does not transfer the burden to the end consumer in relation to the cost of electricity, and it's able to allow some degree of agility on how we are going to offer and deliver these solutions. Yeah, that's it. But
localization.
Localization. Localization, you are right. So of course, this is also a commercial issue. I mean, it's a function of what is the see-through in relation to offtake. So for an example, we are able to say to the market, there's 66 gigawatts of a project in the renewable energy space, but at different stages of the project life cycle. I mean, and then what the investor will then compute is, does that pipeline justify me relocating or introducing an additional capacity in a sovereign territory, and the amount of capital investments that are required? And our articulation is twofold. One is threefold. One is that we think that there's a sufficient pipeline. We're able to illustrate it. The second one is that the DFI IDC is able to come on the back of local players, black players, so that they are able to put their skin in the game. The third one is that don't think of the pipeline in domestic South African terms. We think that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area provides a pristine opportunity for market. So think Lesotho, Botswana, Zambia, they are unlikely going to expand their transmission at the rate at which South Africa has done. It's very costly, but with distributed, if you like, generation in the form of a PV, a combination of battery, inverters, that storage capacity, you are likely going to see that many African countries are going to leapfrog the transmission technology and get into the space of a distributed generation. And that's where the renewable energy space is. So the market is quite big. So we're saying that we'll create those incentives. It's around access to land, access to concessions from municipalities, ensuring that the local partners have got the access to concessional funding from the DFIs, and then there's offtake, especially on programs that are run by government. And in that sense, they are able to justify the investment in the South African economy, and we're able to broaden the manufacturing base, industrialize, resolve the issues of unemployment, and then reaffirm and reassert what was hitherto our unassailable position as Africa's most industrialized economy. But thank you very much for
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramokgopa. My dear colleagues, I wish to just reiterate that indeed we are in this together. Dr. Ramokgopa is very accessible. He's open to engage further. As we speak, we are proceeding to the Central Convention Center, where we'll be taking more interview engagements. Thank you very much for coming here. And we'll continue engaging on these matters. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Congratulations for all these. I will see you on Sunday.
Where's the mic?